When we look at the return applications, 75% of the taking person were mothers. Among them, 94% are the primary carer of their child. The average age of the children involved was 6.7 years old. What happened? Why mothers are abducting their own child? Is this a story of legal conflict and separation, or a symptom of deeper structural failures? In 1980, the Hague Convention on the Civil Aspects of International Child Abduction was adopted. It aims to protect children from wrongful removal or retention and provides a process through which a parent can seek to have their children returned to the home country.
It's usually very effective, but there's a problem. The convention was originally designed to deal with fathers who abduct children and to protect mothers and children, but that's changed.
Most of whom are fleeing domestic abuse or trying to protect their children from abuse. And there are limited options under the Convention for mothers to oppose orders for the return of their children, and in most cases the courts decide that the child must return.
There's nothing that actually protects a fleeing mother and child. No local justice, no international justice, nothing.
The global report published in October 2023 stated that the Hague Convention does not adequately address the protection of women. Around 75% of parents labeled as abductors are mother. There are 2,349 income return applications in 2022, 479 judicial returns ordered by the courts. There is no article mentioning domestic abuse. Among all 125 cases where claiming grave risk was used to secure a refusal of return, mothers were the taking person in 101 cases. Notably, grave risk accounted for 49% of the reasons cited by mothers for refusing to return their children, highlighting a disproportionate reliance on this argument by mothers compared to other parties. Now, with these figures in mind, let's look at the emotional journeys of two brave Hague mothers, Constanza and Anita. Two mothers, two countries, one convention. Constanza from Bolivia and Anita from the UK. Two mothers seeking safety for their children, both facing the Hague Convention weaponized against them.
I thought moving to Germany would bring stability, but I was trapped in isolation and abuse.
The children got on very well in the UK. My son was in the cricket team, my daughter in the drama club, and so on, before the Hague case started.
Constanza fled to Bolivia during the pandemic, seeking safety. Anita returned to the court in London, but faced inconsistent support from her legal team.
He slammed my daughter against the wall. I had no way to protect her.
I had 3 or 4 different barristers. There was no consistency. Nobody knew who I was or what my case was about. I watched them shake hands and chat with my ex, happily, laughing and joking as men do.
Constanza's ex filed a hate petition to demand the children's return. Anita, advised to return voluntarily to the US, faced heartbreaking resistance from her children.
Children barricaded themselves into their bedroom and shouted and screamed, "I'd rather die than return to America."
Both mothers faced courts that ignored their children's safety. For Constanza, this meant forced return without safeguards. For Anita, returning to the US brought immediate legal consequences.
I begged them. How could they send my children to a country where they had no family?
And in the end, my children were removed from me less than 72 hours after we landed.
Constanza and Anita's stories reveal the devastating misuse of the Hague Convention, a tool meant to protect but often used to harm. The struggles emphasize the urgent need for reforms.
They've taken everything from us. Our safety, our stability, our peace. Who will protect mothers like me?
To better understand Hague mothers and their intersectionality, we summarize 6 mothers' experience into sticker notes. and map them on the power and the control wheel. Coercion and threats make mothers afraid to fight back.
It was almost immediately. He became very controlling and very angry. He would yell at me a lot and he would kind of get in my face and stand over me.
He was going to kill my child if we didn't leave.
Intimidation keeps mothers in fear and under control.
I remember I was absolutely terrified and just in disbelief. I thought he was going to kill me, take the baby. I was really, really scared.
The abuse just got so much. Coercive control, gaslighting, sexual abuse, all that sort of stuff.
Emotional abuse makes mothers doubt themselves.
And I was so angry and I was so hurt and I felt so betrayed and I felt like I had failed my son.
Isolation traps them without help or resources.
He moved us into this shed in the outback because I wasn't allowed to go out with him. He would leave me in the shed for like days and nights at a time.
Minimizing, denying, and blaming shift blame onto mothers and frame them as the problem.
And we're always told, like, just leave. When you're in an unsafe situation, just leave. And that's exactly what I did. And now I've been punished for, like, abducting my child.
He'd make these kind of veiled threats with his language and his behaviour.
Using children in custody battles controls mothers, with courts often enabling it.
If I ever did anything against him, he would make sure I never saw my kids again. And he's kept his promise.
Privilege ignores mothers' cultural contributions to their children.
And because we're not Australian, we're not entitled to anything. I was literally stuck in this house in a pandemic with an 8-month-old baby.
Economic abuse creates barriers to self-defense.
My ex had control over all of the money in our relationship. I never had anything. I always had to ask for the money.
The domestic violence toward Hague mothers not only harms the women themselves, but also leads to deeper structural violence. On social media and in news reports, a deep stigmatization is evident, reflecting widespread social and legal biases. These mothers are often labeled as abductors or criminals, oversimplifying the complexity of their actions and motivations. Such narratives reinforce harmful stereotypes, silence their voices, and deeper misunderstandings of their lived experiences. Using framing analysis to examine 2 news reports about Hague mothers, the first article employs terms such as child abduction, loophole, and deadlock. While referencing not only the mother in descriptive sentences, the second article, by contrast, uses terms like Hague mother, abusive father, and protect children. This pattern is consistently observed in news media. When searching for neutral terms like child custody dispute, international child kidnapping, or child protective removal, the results are far more likely to feature mothers than fathers, with almost no mention of Hague Convention cases involving mothers. The judicial system often lacks comprehensiveness and fairness, whether in specific ruling under the Hague Convention or in local and family court decisions. Judicial processes frequently fall short of the depth and sensitivity needed for such cases. The rigidity of the system and its tendency to prioritize fathers' rights creates an environment where these women are marginalized or misjudged. We call on the Hague Convention and legal systems worldwide to recognize the grave risk and intolerable situations caused by exposure to domestic abuse. We demand comprehensive legal aid for mothers, a rebuttable presumption of no return in cases involving domestic violence, welfare hearings held in safe and neutral locations, the full consideration of the views and wishes of the child, and the strict limitation on the misuse of protective measures to undermine Article 13b. We also urge broader social groups and the media to raise awareness of the challenges faced by Hague mothers confronting grave risk. Let us unite to stop Hague abuse and advocate for justice, dignity, and protection for all mothers and children.